Beauty brands need to realize this one thing, and it's that the beauty space is lacking this particular category of olive undertone. A lot of the times, the beauty products that are released nowadays are very saturated, very bright in nature. So a lot of bright pinks, bright oranges, a lot of saturated colors. I feel like we're missing this particular color story of dusty, grayish kind of colors, be it for cheek products, eyeshadows, or even complexion products, because most of the times the complexion products themselves have a lot of saturation to it. And one thing about olive undertones is that usually we have a lot of green in our skin tone, and if not, we have very muted, sallow kind of color to our skin. There have been many instances where on days where I go into office and I don't wear any makeup, I look extremely tired or sick and people ask if I'm okay. Has that ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me way too many times. Boy, it kicks my gears so much. So anyway, today I will be sharing with you guys some of my curated foundations that are great in quality, great in formula as well, that wears really nicely and is also olive tone friendly. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you're watching this, I'm pretty certain you yourself know that you're olive tone. However, on the off chance you are unsure, or just know that I'm a good shade reference but you don't really know how to judge for yourself, then a good example would be if you're going makeup shopping, maybe at Sephora, the makeup store, and when you're swatching things on your face, do the different undertones or foundations, do they match your face to your neck? Like when you pull it all the way down, does it match? If it looks either too warm, like a bad self-tanner, if it looks too yellow, like nacho cheese yellow, you're most probably olive tone as well. And the first one I have is the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. This is in Fair. So this is the actual shade itself in the tube. There's a little like see-through part over here. Now I know that IT Cosmetics have expanded the shade range a little bit, and because this is a repurchase for me, I know now there's like a fair warm or fair light, something like very like subtle like undertone difference. But Fair, the original like shade itself, this is still a fantastic match for me. If you see like the back of my hand to the tube itself, there's a lot more green in my skin compared to the foundation color itself, or CC cream. I keep saying foundation, but you know, interchangeably. And this is actually very breathable on the skin. It's also my first ever CC cream from a Western brand. Normally I use CC creams or BB creams for Asian beauty brands, and I must say that I'm really happy with this purchase. Very breathable on the skin as well. It doesn't feel like a layer of paint or very thick and heavy. And I think this is giving one of the most like skin-like finishes while having very high coverage. I think when comparing it to a lot of the Asian beauty brands, when you think of BB creams, CC creams, they are usually very grey, which I agree, it is pretty grey. But this one, it's not like that. There's enough saturation and color to it, while it's not super like very saturated. So it's very suitable for sallow skin tone like mine. In terms of the undertone, I do like the sallowness, the mutedness of this particular shade color. However, it can pull like a tad bit pink with a little bit of a pigment mixer. I actually am able to correct it a little bit, which I'm going to move on to my next item, which is that color pigment mixer. The color pigment mixer is this one from GRWM. This is their Radiance Tint in Green Beige. Now I have like briefly talked about it in a couple of shots, but nothing like too in depth. So this one comes in like a doe foot applicator, and it looks like this. And ultimately a pigment mixer, as the name suggests, is supposed to kind of change or tweak the color of your foundation or CC cream, whatever it is. It will not alter the formula of whatever original foundation or CC cream that you're using. So I find like a pigment mixer like this is very helpful, and it's really like green but sallow at the same time. Really useful, very helpful. This has gone traveling with me multiple times, and it's also a game changer. And GRWM, I think it's a Filipino makeup brand. Sometimes I do use this as well as a color corrector. So you know how redness on your face and all that can be color corrected by green color correctors? I use this to help me with that. And because it's like, you know, sallower, but still has that greenish tint to it, I just take like a little bit of the product and I just like tap it on to just, you know, do some color correction. I really, really love this so much. And it's such an affordable price point as well. I think I bought this on Shopee Singapore for about $15 if I am not wrong. Super worth it, and I've used this for I think almost a solid year, and I'm still having like a lot of product in the tube itself. Usually a little dollop like this, and then I will mix it in together with whatever foundations I'm using for the day itself, and it just adds that mutedness and sallowness and greenness that I really need in my skin. This next one is a recent purchase for me, but I have been loving this particular cushion foundation. I have not stopped myself from like putting it on because it just looks so good. The Essential Skin Nude Cushion from Chongsemu. I have mine in the shade Light, and oh my god girl, this is a really good cushion, and it has been going viral recently because of, I think, Singles Season Inferno 4. The girls there were actually wearing this. I'm like, okay, T, I want in. And honestly speaking, I've been eyeing this cushion for about a year already, but the reason why I didn't pick this up is also because it is one of the more pricier cushions that I think I've ever owned, if I'm not wrong. So it's a little bit up there in price. And honestly speaking, oh my god, I didn't even like say what is like my regular cushion foundation range of foundation shades. Usually for me right now, I do wear 21, 22. I feel like 23 can be a little bit too dark in certain Korean cushion foundations. So this one is actually 19 Light, which I was a little bit concerned. But because there is a Chongsemu store here in Singapore at like Ion, and I did go and swatch it, 19 Light is actually one of the best matches I've ever encountered from a Korean cushion foundation. So I went ahead with it, and I am wearing it right now. You can see my skin looks so skin-like and it looks so good. Granted, I did powder this down, and whatever like this glowy cheek that you're seeing right now is coming from a highlighter. Now this cushion is described as a glowy, dewy foundation, which honestly speaking, when I hear about it, I think of it as something like light coverage, barely there. Gotta have really good skin, then you can use this. But girl, let me tell you, coverage is so good, and honestly, I have like a couple of breakouts, which you can see on my skin right now. But I would say that it did a really good job at, you know, covering maybe like 80% of it. Like a bit of it peeks through, but it's nobody's gonna be all up in your face and be like, what's that pimple on your face? You know, that kind of thing. Now this is also described as like a yellow base foundation, and I think that the yellowness actually matches my cool yellow overtone on my body. I don't think it is too intense, you know, heavy saturation yellow, because I know there are some warm tone cushion foundations in Korean foundations pulls very, very orange. I feel like I was a victim of the Face Shop's 23 warm foundation. I'm having nightmares about it, thinking about it. But this being yellow base, it is not very, very like a strong intense yellow. I think it matches the rest of my body very, very well, and also to the rest my neck, everything. So very happy with this cushion foundation. I most probably will do a dedicated wear test and also a review on this, so please let me know if you're interested to see that. Yeah, I have really been enjoying this cushion so much. I love it. Also, as a heads up, there's a lot of cushion foundations because I'm just a cushion foundation girly and I just love the convenience of it, alright? Now, the next cushion that I have is from 1028. This is a Taiwanese beauty brand, and I have their Nude Glow Long Wear Cushion Foundation that apparently is humidity resistant. So I was very excited to try these out. I have two shades, Warm Ivory and Light Ivory. They did send this to me with like no obligation to talk about it, but I was really curious to try out a humidity resistant glowy cushion. So Warm Ivory is for warm tones and Light Ivory is for cool tones, and they are both shades that I can wear and get away with. So, you know, the shade range is not very extensive, and I think that's one thing I realized about 1028's complexion products. So they gotta do better in that aspect. But other than that, between the two shades, the better shade match for me would be Warm Ivory. This one has more of like maybe a 10% more yellowness to it. And because I have a very yellow overtone in my skin, despite having that sallow olive greenness in my skin undertone, I feel like the yellowness match my skin very, very well. Let's swatch it like right here, I guess. Yeah. I have tried wearing this without any powder because apparently humidity resistant and glowy skin and all that, right? I want that. This one, at the end of the day, like a solid 8-hour wear, I look very, very glowy and like, wow, oil slick, like grease for me. And you know what? Some people love that look because this is a really like makeup personal preference thing, but I prefer my makeup to look matte and, you know, just everything is set down. This one, I just look way too greasy for my personal preference. One thing I do like about this is that the foundation itself doesn't cake or break apart. It adheres and it's very flexible with the rest of my face. So that's something I really like. I do like 1028 complexion products. I think it's really good. I love their skin primer kind of thing. That one was really good. So one day I'm going to try that together with this to see if I can really extend the wear of this glowy cushion. Normally I would set this down, and also I feel like when I set this down, it also gets glowier throughout the day as well. So it's the same like logic with the Chongsemu cushion. I think these two are like the most recent glowier cushions that I really, really enjoy a lot. Between the two, if you're gonna ask me like, Crystal, which one would you pick? That's a hard choice because I really, really do like the two of them. Maybe the Chongsemu one, because the Chongsemu one is like, it looks a little bit more skin-like. And the color match is maybe like slightly better, like a hint better. The next cushion I recommend for a good color shade match will be Tia. This one is the Mask Fit Red cushion, and personally I am using the shade 21W Natural Ivory. I know it sounds scary, and I was a little bit scared as well to order the warm tone shade, but because it is having that yellowy undertone to it, it actually works out pretty well for my yellow overtone. So this is the color over here. And I think from the cushion itself, wait, let me put my hand over here. You can see that it has that bit of sallowness to it and also that yellowness. I did do a dedicated review on this cushion foundation, very in-depth review. Also did a wear test as well, my experience, so go and check that out. Without getting into all of the details, I think this color match is great for someone who is like my color. But I realized that this cushion is one of the higher coverage cushions I have come across from an Asian beauty brand. I would say it's like medium, high, sometimes a bit high as well if you were to really layer it in. However, I think where I kind of have a gripe with this cushion, if you were to go in with one layer of this cushion, I think it looks very matte, you know, the color matches very well to the rest of your body. But let's say, for example, you are wanting a little bit more coverage, maybe you have a bit of a breakout or just like a pimple you want to cover, and you try to go in with that second layer, right? Because of how high the color coverage is, sometimes it can look a little bit yellow, like too sallow, and it doesn't look natural, like a natural skin color when you try and layer it up. So I think that's one of the biggest gripe I have with this cushion. But in terms of the formula, currently, I would say that I've been reaching for this a little bit more. I'm just going in with one sheer layer. I don't know if people are still like gushing over this. But I think it's a good cushion, and it's great that Tia is actually planning to do an olive undertone, which I think I did mention in YouTube shorts talking about it, that they are planning to, you know, do olive undertone in their I can't remember, was it like AI cushion filter kind of thing. So I think that's great. I'm glad that Tia is actually listening and, you know, actually expanding into that realm of things. So I'm really excited to see what Tia will come up with for an olive cushion foundation, like actually like olive undertone. So that's something I am keeping an eye out. But tentatively, if you are looking to try out the Mask Fit Red cushion and you have a similar skin tone like mine, then I highly recommend getting the 21W Natural Ivory. Next up, we have a drugstore brand. This is from Revlon. This is their Color Stay Longwear Makeup. This is the Combination Oily formula. I heard that there is a dewier formula, so that's why I think it's important for me to like mention that it's the Combination Oily one. And this is in the shade 180 Sand Beige. So this one, I feel like when on the back of my hand, it blends out really, really effortlessly. Like, girl, look at how sallow it looks like. Unexpected foundation matches because I actually got a little sample of it when I was shopping in Japan, like the Harajuku at Cosme store. I was so impressed by the shade match. And when I came back home, I decided to pick up a bottle of this because it's just so good. It's very breathable. It doesn't feel very heavy on the skin. And honestly speaking, my impression of drugstore foundations is not that great because when I think about it, like back then, it was like very cakey, very thick, also very orange. This one, it is so muted and it just covers really well. I would describe this more of like a medium coverage. This has more of like a semi-matte finish and it has that slight bit of sheen even though it dries down really matte. And long wear makeup, usually it will feel very drying as well, right? I don't think this is drying. My skin really enjoys this foundation. It sits on top really nicely. And this also mixes really well with my natural oils throughout the entire day. When I powder it down, it just looks so good. And underrated. Super duper underrated. I don't wear my makeup for 24 hours as what they say, but I do have very, very long days, especially when I have an office job from morning to night sometimes. So this holds up very well. I have 3 more great foundation matches for light olive skin tones. However, they are from Thai beauty brands. So Thai beauty, I feel like it's a little bit not as accessible as compared to all the other brands that I've mentioned. But by any chance, if you are in Thailand, you are able to get your hands on any of these, then I highly recommend you guys to check it out. First one we have is the For You 2 Nudewear Liquid Teint. This one is in Zero Light Wear. This is actually the lighter shade, so if you are anywhere like lighter than me, paler than me, then you might not want to risk it because I do feel that for beauty brands in Thailand, they are a little bit more leaning on the light, medium deep. There isn't much for light pale people. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. This one has more of a thicker consistency and it's a glowier foundation, but it spreads out so nicely. It's very emollient and has a very like thick body to it. And look at that, that is so stinking pretty. I absolutely love it. One thing I realized with a lot of Thai beauty brands is that a lot of their complexion products, they are very yellow in tone. And in the past, because I used to go to Thailand a lot even when I was a kid, the yellow was really a nacho cheese yellow. So that's why I kind of stayed away from it for quite a number of years. Only very recently, maybe in the last 2 years or so, did I slowly get back into Thai complexion products. And I feel like they have improved quite a lot because Thailand is also based in Southeast Asia. And you know, Southeast Asians, I feel like a lot of us, we have a lot of that strong yellow overtone to it. Might be warm, might be cold, but it's just, we have this very yellow sallowness to it. So I think For You 2 has done a really good job at creating a lot of that yellowness in complexion products without turning it into nacho cheese. And now this foundation has dried down already, right? It's like staying there. It's not budging at all. Because I also feel that for the climate, you know, that Thailand is in, because Southeast Asian, we're all like, you know, tropical countries or tropical climate, okay? We really, really need our foundations to like adhere and stick. And this one is one of them that is just not gonna go anywhere. So that is something that I've always been very impressed with, especially with this foundation. The last time I had such a glowy, straight out of the tube liquid foundation, right, was from Etude, the double long-lasting foundation glow edition. Like, oh my god, that was my foundation back in Polytechnic and I wore it to all of my part-time jobs. I must have looked so sweaty, my god. It's not as liquidy and runny as compared to that. I don't know if anyone even needs that as a reference because it's so obscure at this point. But this one has higher coverage and Thai beauty does not play when it comes to their coverage of foundations because oh my god, they're usually really, really high in coverage and this is no exception. Normally when I think of glowy foundations, like I mentioned earlier, it's very like light and barely any coverage. This one has coverage and it it works out very, very well. And it looks so like naturally radiant, and I love it. I love it so much. For this foundation, you have to buff it out quite well into the skin, and once it sets, like right now, right, it is not budging, and it still maintains that shine. Like, look at that. Oh my god, it is so stinking pretty. Love it. Also, Thai Beauty, very affordable as well. I think you can get it easily at Watson's, if not Eve and Boy. Eve and Boy is another happy place of mine. I can't wait to go back to Thailand. I have no plans to go back yet, but there are whispers in the wind that my family wants to go back sometime at the end of the year, so might go. I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes. Also from For You Too, this is their CC Cream, Skin First CC Cream over here. This is in number 1 light. And this one also has a very, very strong yellow undertone. The coverage on these Thai complexion products are no joke, okay? Like, look at that. Look at how that little bit spread out so much and how pigmented it is as well. And the best part is that once you blend it out, right, and you give it some time for it to set and adhere to the skin, it's not going anywhere. And this one is super breathable on the skin as well. So I'm very, very impressed. And also, a lot of these Thai complexion products, they kind of dry down matte, which again, love. I'm a matte girl. I love having things matte. And then when you sweat, the oils will mix together with it. And then it gives that more like naturally glowy kind of thing at the end of the day, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think this is great. Also very, very thin in formula. I don't know why my first impression when I first tried this on, right, I think it reminded me of Paint, like a little bit, because it feels so oddly thin. Not say very creamy either, but it just felt like very thin layers going onto my skin, but it's also breathable at the same time. I was very impressed by it. And the next Thai base is from Chart. This is his professional makeup line, and this is his professional foundation SPF 15 PA triple plus. This one is in number 1 light, and this one I bought I think last year, and this one has more of a gelish texture to it. Feels a little bit more luxe. Again, very high in coverage. You see how that little bit spreads so easily across the skin. This one is a little bit more pricey. It is not as crazy expensive as like a NARS, as an Hourglass or whatsoever, but I think this was somewhere along the lines of a 35 to 40 Sing dollars. So again, not cheap, but also not super expensive either. One thing about this foundation is you have to work fast and blend it out. So you have to work in like smaller sections to make sure everything blends out, because if not, it does dry down a little bit too fast. I'm just going to leave this splotch on my skin for a bit, okay? And I don't know, look at me like just talking, right? You can see that it's already starting to dry down. I'm going to use a clean finger. I'm going to try and like blend it out. You can see where my finger left a indentation mark. And also this foundation works best with a foundation brush. I tried it using a sponge, and I think with the sponge, it doesn't like pick up the product at all. It's not very absorbent liquid product because of that gelish texture. So you see now when I try to like blend it out, it's, you know, a little bit hard. And again, it fixates onto the skin very well. It adheres very well. So that's one thing. But the color match is very good as well. Again, it pulls a little bit yellow. I think comparing it to the 2 other For You Too products, I think the yellowness in this, it is not as intense and as saturated as compared to the CC cream. I feel like the CC cream can look like borderline a little bit like maybe cream nacho cheese. I don't know. But this one, the yellowness is a little bit more natural, a little bit more skin-like. So that's one thing I do like about it. Just that the price point of it comes at a higher price tag. And you thought this is over, girl? Nah. I have 2 more honorable mentions from Clio. This is a Skin Fixer and also Espoir DB Velvet Cushion Foundation. Now, the reason being I am putting these into honorable mentions is also because I have very openly and have made dedicated review videos going in depth, testing these 2 cushion foundations out, saying that I love the shade match and all that kind of thing, which I think I like the formula of this a lot. Like, nothing can beat Korean foundations. I feel like the technology that they use, next level superior. However, I feel like time has passed and it's been a couple of years, I would say almost 1 to 2 years ever since I got my hands on these cushion foundations. I still like them, but I feel like the shade match is not the best. I can get away with it, but I will categorize these two cushions as more of like brightening cushions. Ever since I've been curating my foundation choices and shades, I feel like these two have become a little bit too brightening to my taste. So I do reach out for them still, don't get me wrong. It's not as if like, I hate them, I go back on my words, I change my mind. No, match for me. Now if you're curious about the cushion foundation formulas themselves, I will put cards up above and also check links down below. I will put all of the detailed dedicated reviews if you want to hear more about these cushions. I can't believe I spent 1.5 hours talking about complexion products. I'm just born a yapper, I swear. And I do have all like my lips, cheek, eyeshadows. Oh my god, so much. I want to share with y'all, but trust me, it has to be another video. I'm so sorry, I have to do it because it's just way too much. And if you're still on the hunt for like foundation swatches, references for olive skin tones, then I highly recommend you to check out this video over here. I swatch out all of my foundations, so I think it'll be a great reference for you.